So hello friends, today we are going to discuss about anticholinergic drugs. So let us revise a few things before starting anticholinergic drugs. So cholinergic system originates from the craniosacral outflow. Okay, so we have some cranial nerves as well as the S2, S3 and S4 segment of the spinal nerves carrying the parasympathetic nerve fibers. The main neurotransmitter both at the preganglionic and at the postganglionic level in the parasympathetic or the cholinergic nervous system is acetylcholine. So the receptors, they are mainly located and widely distributed head, neck and the thoracic cavity. So it is widely distributed in the body. Receptor types, two main types are there, muscarinic type and nicotinic type. Muscarinic type is further subdivided into M1 up to M5, that is M1, M2, M3, M4 and M5. And the nicotinic subtype is divided into NM and NN variety. The muscarinic type, that is the M type receptors, they are the G protein coupled receptors, while the nicotinic type or the N type, they are the receptor gated ion channels. Okay, so this we have discussed already. So receptor locations, first we will see in the heart. Here in the heart you have M2 receptors are there. Eyes you have M3 receptors. Smooth muscles have M3 receptors, and exocrine glands also have M3 receptors. So now we go to anticholinergic drugs. So this is how the cholinergic nervous system is distributed. The cholinereceptors, two types, muscarinic, nicotinic. Muscarinic, they are the receptors, the drugs that block these muscarinic receptors, they are traditionally known as anticholinergic drugs. While those that block the NN receptors, which are located on autonomic ganglia, they are known as ganglionic blockers. And those that block the NM receptor, they are known as skeletal muscle relaxants or neuromuscular blockers. So conventionally anticholinergic drugs are those that block the action of acetylcholine on autonomic receptors and in the CNS, which are exerted through muscarinic receptors. So all those drugs that block the receptors which are involved in uh, autonomic effector and in the CNS, those responses, they are blocked by blocking the muscarinic receptors. They are known as anticholinergic drugs. So classification, natural alkaloids, you have two, atropine and hyoscine, also known as scopolamine. Out of this atropine is the prototype drug because it was discovered first. So we will talk everything in relation to atropine, but there are a lot of other compounds, some semi-synthetic and some synthetic, which behave like atropine. So they have pharmacological actions, uses and adverse effects similar to atropine. Semi-synthetic derivatives include homatropine, atropine methonitrate, iosine butyl bromide, ipratropium and tiotropium bromide. Synthetic compounds, in that the classification is based on the uses or the effect for which compounds are used. You have mydriatics like cyclopentolate, tropicamide. You have anti-secretory, antispasmodics. There you have two types, quaternary compounds which do not cross the blood-brain barrier, so they do not have CNS side effects like oxyphenonium, glycopyrrolate. Tertiary amines like dicyclomine, validamate and pyrenzapine. Vesicoselective, that is those that are selective for the urinary bladder, that includes flavoxate, oxybutynin, tolterodine. And some anticholinergic drugs, they have a high central to peripheral activity ratio, that is they easily cross the blood brain barrier and they have more prominent effect in the CNS, and they are used for their anti-Parkinsonian effect. They are trihexyphenidyl, benztropine and bipyridine. We will see everything about atropine. So pharmacological actions of atropine. Atropine is the prototype drug. Actions can be predicted from the knowledge of parasympathetic responses. So whatever cholinomimetic actions or the actions of acetylcholine you have studied in cholinergic system, that is cholinomimetics, if you remember that correctly, if you are having a detailed knowledge of that responses, you can easily predict the response of or the actions of anticholinergic drugs. Prominent effects are seen in the tissues and organs which normally receive strong parasympathetic tone. CNS first, atropine has overall CNS stimulant action. Usually these effects are not seen at lower doses because at lower doses it does not cross the blood brain barrier easily. But when given in high dose, atropine can easily cross the blood brain barrier, producing these central nervous system effects. Atropine stimulates the vagal, the respiratory and vasomotor centers. It depresses the vestibular excitation and has anti-motion sickness property. Now this action is made use of in clinical conditions of motion sickness. So all anticholinergics, they are very good agents for suppressing motion sickness and vomiting arising out of motion sickness. It blocks the relative cholinergic overactivity in the basal ganglia, hence it suppresses the tremors and rigidity in Parkinson's disease. Another central nervous system clinical use of atropine or other anticholinergic drug is to reduce the basal ganglia overactivity in Parkinson's disease, and thus they help suppressing the tremor and rigidity of Parkinson's disease. High doses of atropine can cause cortical excitation, restlessness, disorientation, hallucinations, and delirium. These are all the symptoms seen in atropine or dhatura poisoning. Hyoscine has depressant and sedative action on CNS. Rest all other action, that is blocking motion sickness, anti-Parkinsonian effect, they are same as atropine. On the CVS, heart, initially I showed you that heart has M2 receptors, and the acetylcholine, by stimulating the M2 receptors, depresses the heart. So it decreases the rate of contraction and force of contraction. So now atropine, by blocking these M2 receptors, the most prominent effect of atropine on heart is to increase heart rate. That is, atropine causes tachycardia. Blockade of M2 receptor present on the SA node is the reason for this tachycardia. Also, there is increased AV conduction and decrease in effective refractory period of the AV node. So the number of impulses crossing from atria to ventricle increases. The PR interval on ECG is decreased. Blood pressure, cholinergic impulse, they are not directly involved in the maintenance of vascular tone, so there is no marked or consistent effect on blood pressure, but usually because of tachycardia and vasomotor center stimulation, there is rise in blood pressure. Direct vasodilator action of cholinomimetics is lost because of this blockade by anticholinergic drugs. Eyes, yes, this is very very important. You must know all the actions of atropine on eyes. Atropine, it blocks the M3 receptors which are present on the constrictor pupillae muscles. So there is dilatation of pupils, increase in size of pupil, which you can see clearly here. So this is the normal eye. When given atropine, you can see that there is increase in diameter of pupil, increase in size of pupil. This is known as mydriasis. Okay. Second thing, what happens is there is abolition of light reflex. So when you show light to this pupil, there won't be any meiosis. Now this light reflex is because of the third nerve, and it is a parasympathetic mediated response. So when we give atropine, this light reflex is lost. Next is cycloplegia. What is cycloplegia? So whenever our vision is fixed for distant objects and suddenly we adjust our vision, we try to read something or we go for near vision, there is a change in the two things in the eyes. One is the meiosis is there, and second one is there is contraction of ciliary muscle which changes the diameter of lens. This adjustment is known as accommodation reflex. which adjusts or accommodates our eye from far to near vision. And this is mediated again by parasympathetic nervous system using M3 receptors. So atropine, by blocking this M3 receptor, causes loss of accommodation reflex, and near vision won't be possible, or there is a lot of blurring of near vision. That is known as cycloplegia. That is known as cycloplegia. Also, the fourth thing that happens with atropine is that it, because of this pupillary dilation, there is decrease in drainage of aqueous humor. So accumulation of aqueous humor in the anterior chamber, which gives rise in intraocular tension. So what are the results of these actions of atropine? Photophobia. Okay, so whenever person is exposed to light, because there won't be any meiosis, so a person has photophobia, irritability to light. Blurring of near vision. I told that in the previous slide I explained that there is no accommodation, so near vision will be blurred, and can precipitate an acute attack of glaucoma because of its ability to increase intraocular tension, particularly in individuals with narrow iridocorneal angle. Smooth muscles. In the GIT, the smooth muscle blockade, all the smooth muscles of GIT are relaxed, so there is decreased peristalsis, there is inability to defecate, and which manifests itself as constipation. So tone and amplitude of contractions of stomach as well as intestine is reduced, constipation may occur. Peristalsis is incompletely suppressed. Okay. Next is the respiratory system. Atropine causes bronchodilation because bronchial smooth muscles have M3 receptors, and acetylcholine causes contraction or bronchoconstriction or bronchospasm. Atropine, by blocking these receptors, can lead to bronchodilation and reduces airway resistance. Inflammatory mediators like histamine, prostaglandin, leukotrienes and others, they indirectly increase vagal activity and can cause bronchospasm. So atropine reduces all these effects as well. In the urinary system, atropine relaxes the ureter and detrusor of urinary bladder. Urinary retention occurs. Difficulty in micturition. This effect is particularly seen in elderly and those males with enlarged prostate. Glands. Atropine markedly decreases secretions from sweat glands, salivary glands, lacrimal glands, tracheobronchial glands. So there is decreased sweating, there is decreased salivation, which leads to dryness of skin, and decreased salivation leads to difficulty in swallowing and speaking. Lacrimal glands and tracheobronchial glands. Okay. Atropine slightly decreases acid pepsin secretion, but no other intestinal secretions are affected as such. Okay. Body temperature. Yes, atropine can cause rise in body temperature at high doses, particularly seen in children. So in children it can give rise to atropine fever, and this is due to mainly stimulation of the temperature regulating center in the hypothalamus. Some local anesthetic action has been seen with atropine in the cornea. Atropine and hyoscine can be given by oral route. They are rapidly absorbed from the GI tract. They can cross the blood-brain barrier, enters the CNS, some of which is metabolized and rest is excreted as unchanged in urine. Okay. So where do we use it? So system-wise uses of anticholinergic drugs are given here. In the CNS, two uses are there. This I have already explained, that in Parkinson's disease, there is overactivity of the cholinergic nervous system. So atropine, by blocking this overactive cholinergic system, can be useful in treatment of Parkinson's disease. And second one is the all anticholinergic drugs. They are very effective in preventing or suppressing motion sickness and vomiting associated with motion sickness. Also, the anticholinergic drugs, they are the drug of choice for the treatment of drug-induced Parkinsonism. In CVS, uh, for the treatment of bradycardia and heart block, atropine IV can be given. Also, atropine is used as a pre-anesthetic medication where it prevents vagal stimulation induced bradycardia. In the eyes, as a mydriatic and paraplegic, atropine and atropine-like congeners like cyclopentolate, tropicamide, which are available as eye drops and eye ointments, they are used for refraction testing. That is, whenever we are going for testing our refraction, uh, complete dilation of pupil and cycloplegia is done using anticholinergic drugs. Also, in the treatment of iridocyclitis, to cut down the sphincter pupillae contraction and along with that associated pain, anticholinergic drugs are used. GIT and GUT as an antispasmodic agent for the treatment of GI colic, biliary colic, and sometimes even for renal colic, antispasmodic agents are used. In the treatment of asthma and COPD, both the tiotropium and ipratropium bromide and other anticholinergic drugs, they are available as bronchodilators and they symptomatically relieve the bronchospastic episode in both COPD and asthma patients. Okay, some anticholinergic drugs like the pyrenzapine, they are used for the treatment of peptic ulcer, but better available drugs like proton pump inhibitors and H2 blockers are available, so they are not preferred for treatment of peptic ulcer. Side effects, yes, there are many. If you have paid attention to the pharmacological actions, then you can easily remember the side effect of anticholinergic drugs. So always remember the tissues where um, anticholinergic drugs actions are there. So one by one, if you remember the tissues, you can remember the side effects. So in the eye, there is blurring of near vision. Then there is increase in intraocular tension. In the glands, there is dryness of mouth, so difficulty in speaking and swallowing. Dryness of skin is there. Urinary retention, difficulty in micturition, particularly in elderly males and in patients with benign prostatic hyperplasia. Then you have constipation, CNS excitement because it is a CNS stimulant, delirium, restlessness, particularly seen at high doses. In CVS, it increases heart rate, tachycardia, and palpitation. And in poisoning cases, say for example in Dhatura poisoning or in overdose of atropine, there will be respiratory depression plus above all the symptoms that I mentioned. Along with that, cardiovascular collapse, coma, and if not treated, can lead to death. So to summarize, the muscarinic receptor blockers, that is those drugs that block the muscarinic receptors, they are known as anticholinergic drugs. Atropine and hyoscine are the naturally available compounds. Atropine is the prototype drug. While many synthetic, semi-synthetic and synthetic drugs are also available for a wide variety of purposes. They have a number of clinical uses. So atropine in the CNS causes, it is a stimulant. It depresses vestibular excitation and has anti-Parkinsonian effect. In the heart, tachycardia and facilitates AV conduction. In the eyes, it causes mydriasis, cycloplegia, and increase in intraocular tension. In the smooth muscles, GIT, it causes relaxation, so constipation is there, antispasmodic action is there. In the respiratory, bronchodilation is there. In the bladder, difficulty in micturition. Okay. And finally, in the glands, there is decrease in exocrine secretions. So if you remember this, if you remember this figure, then you are easily able to remember the actions, uses as well as adverse effects of anticholinergic drugs. Thank you.